The Book of Disquiet by Fernando Pessoa. Section 225. Yes, it's the sunset. Slowly and distractedly, I reach the end of the Rua de Alfandega and see, beyond the Terreiro do Paco, a clear view of the sunless western sky. It's a blue sky, tinged green, and tending towards lighter grey. And on the left, over the hills of the opposite bank, there's a cowering mass of brownish to lifeless pink fog, an immense peace that I don't have is coldly present in the abstract full air. Not having it, I experience the feeble pleasure of imagining it exists. But in reality, there is no peace nor lack of peace, just sky. A sky with every fading color, light blue, blue-green, pale gray between green and blue, fuzzy hues of distant clouds that aren't clouds, yellowishly darkened by an expiring red. And all of this is a vision that vanishes as soon as it occurs, a winged interlude between nothing and nothing that takes place on high, in shades of sky and grief, diffuse and indefinite. I feel and forget. A nostalgia, the same one that everyone feels for everything, invades me as if it were an opium in the cold air. I have an inner pseudo-ecstasy that comes from seeing. Towards the ocean, where the sun's ceasing becomes increasingly final. The light dies out in a livid white which is blued by greenish cold. In the air, there's a torpor of what is never achieved, loudly hushes. In this moment, when I'm bursting with feeling, I wish I had the gift of ruthless self-expression, the arbitrary whim of a style as my destiny. But no, this remote, lofty sky that's disintegrating is everything right now. And the emotion I feel, which is many confused emotions bunched together, is merely this useless sky's reflection in a lake, in me. A lake secluded among steep, rugged rocks, perfectly still, a kind of dead man's gaze in which the heights distractedly observe themselves. So many times, so many, like now, it has oppressed me to feel myself feel, to feel anguish just because it's a feeling, restlessness because I'm here, nostalgia for something I've never known, the sunset of all emotions, myself, yellowing, subdued to grey sadness in my external self-awareness. Who will save me from existing? It's neither death nor life that I want. It's that other thing, shining in the depths of longing, like a possible diamond in a pit one can't descend. It's all the weight and sorrow of this real and impossible universe, of this sky like the flag of an unknown army, of these colors that are paling in the fictitious air, where the imaginary crescent of the moon, cut out of distance and insensibility, now emerges in a still, electric whiteness. It all amounts to the absence of a true God, an absence that is the empty cadaver of the lofty heavens and the closed soul. Infinite prison, since you're infinite, there's no escaping you. Section 226. What transcendental sensuousness when at night, walking along the city streets and staring from within my soul at the building facades, all the structural differences, the architectural details, the lit windows, the potted plants that make each balcony unique. Yes, looking at all this, what instinctive joy I felt when to the lips of my consciousness came this shout of redemption. But none of this is real. Section 227. I prefer prose to poetry as an art form for two reasons. The first of which is purely personal. I have no choice because I'm incapable of writing in verse. The second reason applies to everyone, however, and I don't think it's just a shadow or disguised form of the first. It's worth looking at in some detail, for it touches on the essence of all art's value. I consider poetry to be an intermediate stage between music and prose. Like music, poetry is bound by rhythmic laws, and even when these are not the strict laws of meter, they still exist as checks, constraints, automatic mechanisms of repression and censure. In prose, we speak freely. We can incorporate musical rhythms and still think. We can incorporate poetic rhythms and yet remain outside them. An occasional poetic rhythm won't disturb prose, but an occasional prose rhythm makes poetry fall down. Prose encompasses all art, in part because words contain the whole world, and in part because the untrammeled word contains every possibility for saying and thinking. In prose, through transposition, we're able to render everything, color and form, which painting can render only directly in themselves, with no inner dimensions. Rhythm, which music likewise renders only directly in itself, without a formal body, let alone that second body which is the idea structure, which the architect must make out of given, hard external things, and which we build with rhythms, hesitations, successions, and fluidities. Reality, which the sculptor has to leave in the world with no aura of transubstantiation. And poetry, finally, to which the poet, like the initiate of a secret society, is the servant, albeit voluntary, of a discipline and a ritual. I'm convinced that in a perfect civilized world there would be no other art but prose. We would let sunsets be sunsets, using art merely to understand them verbally, by conveying them in an intelligible music of color. We wouldn't sculpt bodies, but we would let them keep for themselves their supple contours and soft warmth that we see and touch. We would build houses only to live in them, which is, after all, what they're for. Poetry would be for children, to prepare them for prose, since poetry is obviously something infantile, mnemonic, elementary, and auxiliary. Even what we might call the minor arts have their echoes in prose. There is prose that dances, sings, and recites to itself. There are verbal rhythms with a sinuous choreography, in which the idea being expressed strips off its clothing with veritable and exemplary sensuality. And there are also, in prose, gestural subtleties carried out by a great actor, the word, which rhythmically transforms into its bodily substance the impalpable mystery of the universe.